Texans won games, Texans lost games. But that everyone sees. What almost no one stops to face is what this season revealed. Not about scores, not about statistics, but about who the Texans really are now. Because 2025 wasn't just another year, it was the third straight reaching the playoffs, and that changes everything. There is a huge difference between getting there once and coming back to the playoffs every year. Once is a surprise, 2 is coincidence, 3 starts to become a pattern, and a pattern is where the NFL separates temporary projects from franchises that learned how to survive. This video is not about what went wrong in the regular season, nor about who failed in that last game against the Patriots in the Divisional Round. It's about what was built until we got here. In March of 2025, the Texans were no longer that feel-good story from the previous season. They were a team carrying real expectation. And expectation in the NFL is a cruel weight. Free agency wasn't about gambling, it was about adjusting. Pieces to protect the quarterback, pieces to sustain the pace of play, pieces to not depend on miracles. This is the first sign of a team's maturity, when you stop looking for heroes and start looking for continuity. April arrived, draft. And the conversation was no longer who can save this franchise, it was something else. Who keeps this running? That change in the question says more than any press conference. Because young franchises hunt for stars. Franchises that learned something hunt for fit. The preseason went by fast, as always. But there was something different in the air. It wasn't euphoria, it wasn't hype. It was a quiet sense that this team already knew how to prepare. More objective practices, clearer rotation, less improvisation. This doesn't show up on Instagram, but it shows up on Sunday Night Football. September arrived, and with it, the inevitable clash between expectation and reality. Because growing and winning games in the NFL isn't linear. It's a chart full of abrupt drops, games where everything flowed, games where nothing worked. And this is where the Texans season starts to get interesting. Not because of perfect performance, but because of the response to chaos. There were weeks when the protection failed. There were weeks when execution fell apart. There were moments when it seemed that everything was about to slip away. And in past seasons, it did. But not in 2025. The offense didn't panic. The defense didn't collapse. The team didn't turn against itself. They adjusted. Sometimes in play calling. Sometimes in tempo. Sometimes simply by accepting that winning ugly also counts. This is real learning. It's not talk. There's an unspoken phrase that defines this season: we don't need to be perfect to compete. This idea changes everything. Because young teams play trying to prove something, teams that mature play trying to control. Throughout the regular season, the Texans didn't become an unstoppable machine. They became something more dangerous, a team that's hard to kill. And that comes with an emotional cost. It means winning close games. It means losing painful games. It means carrying frustration without letting it turn into a fracture. The fans felt it. It wasn't a comfortable season. It was a season of constant tension. But it was also a season in which the fan noticed something rare. This team doesn't disappear under pressure. They bend the knee, they breathe, and they keep going. When the playoffs arrived, there was no illusion. No one expected an easy path. No one promised the Super Bowl. The message was different. Let's compete. And compete they did, as far as they could. Elimination came in the Divisional Round. It hurts to say it. It always hurts. But the way it ended didn't erase what had been built before. Because losing didn't destroy the foundation. It didn't implode the locker room. It didn't expose an emotionally fragile team. It exposed limits. And clear limits are maps. This is where a lot of people misread the season. They look at the last game and try to sum up 18 weeks in 60 minutes. That's analytical laziness. The Texans' 2025 season wasn't about going further. It was about going more ready. 3 straight years in the playoffs don't guarantee anything in the future, but they say something very specific about the present. They say that this franchise learned how to get through an entire season without getting lost in its own noise, and that changes what comes next. If up to this point, the season showed what this team learned to do on the field, now it reveals something harder to measure: what the Texans learned to endure. Because maturity in the NFL doesn't just show up on Sunday. It shows up the following Monday, in the way the locker room reacts, in the way the coaching staff speaks, in the way silence is managed. Throughout 2025, the Texans went through something every rising franchise faces: the weight of being taken seriously. No longer the friendly team, no longer the pleasant surprise. Now, a prepared opponent. And that changes how every loss hurts. There were weeks when offensive execution put them in impossible situations. There were games when protection failed at the worst moment. There were decisive drives that ended too soon. In past seasons, that would turn into fingers pointing. It would turn into noise. It would turn into cracks. In 2025, it became organized silence. The kind of silence that doesn't deny the problem, but also doesn't panic. The end of the season brought the inevitable shock. Playoffs don't forgive margin of error. They amplify everything. Everything you do well, and everything you still don't. Elimination was harsh, but it wasn't confusing. It didn't leave questions like, what was this team trying to be? It left better questions. What's missing? Where to adjust? How to take the next step? This is a clear divider. Fragile franchises leave the playoffs discussing identity. Growing franchises leave discussing details, and the Texans left talking about details: protection, execution on critical downs, efficiency when the field shortens. None of this is abstract. None of this is too philosophical. It's real football. There's an important emotional point here. 2025 didn't end with a sense of waste. It ended with a sense of incompleteness. And that's different. Waste generates frustration. Incompleteness generates focus. You feel like you haven't seen the ceiling yet. And that changes the entire conversation for the 2026 offseason. For the players, this weighs on them. Not in a sense of guilt, but of responsibility. Because now no one is learning to win anymore. They already know how to win. Now they need to learn how to win when it hurts. For the coaching staff, the message is clear. The model works, but it needs refinement. Less margin for error, more quick responses, more clarity in critical moments. None of this requires revolution. It requires evolution. And this is exactly where dangerous teams are born. And for the fans, perhaps this is the most important point. 2025 strengthened something that doesn't show up in statistics: rational confidence. Not that blind faith that ignores problems, but the confidence of someone who sees flaws and still believes in the path. This kind of confidence doesn't arise in magical seasons. It arises in difficult seasons. 3 straight years in the playoffs created a new normal in Houston. It's no longer getting there. It's what do we do when we get there? That change in the question is everything. The legacy of 2025 isn't a banner. It's not a trophy. It's not a perfect memory. It's something more silent. It's the certainty that this team no longer needs to reinvent itself every year. It needs to deepen what it has already built. And that brings us to the mirror. When the Texans look at 2025, they don't see a failure. They see an honest portrait, with clear virtues, with exposed limits, with a path that doesn't depend on a miracle. In the NFL, that's extremely rare. The question now isn't, can they come back? They've already come back 3 times. The real question is different. What does this team do when the pain of defeat becomes fuel and not trauma? This answer doesn't come in January nor in February. It begins now, in the silence of the offseason, and ends when the clock starts running again. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.